top 5 teams that should be making the phone call to the 49ers for Trey Lance. Mike, may I have the music to put us all in the mood? Number 5 is the team that we heard in the last hour. A lot of conversation about it. We've been hearing in the last week that they may not take a quarterback second overall. And maybe, just maybe, DeMeco Ryans had a front row seat to watching Trey Lance deal with all this adversity, deal with all of the watching, and say, we don't need somebody who we got to teach the system to. The system we run is something that he's familiar with. The Houston Texans should absolutely be calling to see if Trey Lance is available. Because to me, again, they're the only team that you're going to hear on this list that would make this trade prior to the draft. I would think. You'd have to pay a premium from the 49ers to do that, because the Niners, again, why would they make this trade having seen last year every quarterback that was on their depth chart they needed? So they're gonna thin their ranks right now? That's a tough one to swallow, that they're gonna thin their ranks right now, and it's a tough one to swallow that a team would just say before the draft, we'll make this trade now, because everybody else needs to see, would they get a quarterback in this draft, and if not, then they'll make this trade. It could be a front-loaded conversation. The Texans are one of the few, or maybe the only one, that would be like, yeah, the only way we wouldn't make this trade is if somehow Bryce Young drops to us. And if not, then maybe we make the phone call. We'll use the 2nd overall pick on a defender and then flip the 12th overall pick or something on a Friday night. But the Texans should absolutely be making this phone call to see what's up if they're really interested in trading Trey Lance. And the photograph we showed for our radio audience was Davis Mills, because that's the guy right now. Number 4 on this list, he's comfortable backing this guy up if that's the way it's going to go, and I think that's the way it would go monetarily. But he's also comfortable being put in the game because this guy gets hurt. They get along very well in a quarterback room. The Las Vegas Raiders might want to reunite Trey Lance with Jimmy Garoppolo. What's up? If we don't get the quarterback we want, 7th overall, we go through Thursday night, don't get that. Brian Hoyer's not getting any younger as the backup. Would Lance be psyched to be the backup? Garoppolo at some point might get hurt. They speak the same language. Maybe the Raiders are knocking on the 49ers' door. I would just to see, if you're thinking of trading him, what would it cost? But we'd have to go through the first round of the draft, or maybe even the second round of the draft, before we make that trade. 3rd on this list is a team that is absolutely in the quarterback market in this year's draft and absolutely might not get the guy that they want, 11th overall. The Tennessee Titans should be knocking on the 49ers' door and seeing if they can upgrade the position that Malik Willis is currently holding down behind Ryan Tannehill, who everybody believes has numbered days in Tennessee. Could Trey Lance be that guy? I would definitely, if I'm the Tennessee Titans, knock on that door. Again, I would have to have the first round of the draft get out of the way. If we didn't get the guy that we wanted, Trey Lance is an absolutely outstanding option. Number 2 on this list. Now, this team, 100%, we all know that you must. How many people have you heard say that if you hail from the Shanahan tree, and this coach does, if you hail in any way, shape, or form, have a branch from the tree that's rooted in the Shanahan system, you must pay. I think Daniel Jeremiah said this. You must pay fealty to Kirk Cousins. You must. And the team that currently fields Kirk Cousins, the Minnesota Vikings, should be knocking on the door of Kyle Shanahan and say, you saw something in this guy. We definitely should see something in this guy. And Kevin O'Connell comes from the Rams and McVay and the whole system back in the day in Washington when Shanahan was coaching Kirk Cousins. Maybe Trey Lance is that guy. Minnesota, where Trey Lance, I believe Minnesota was the only, did he say when he came on the show as a pre-draft prospect, Minnesota was another team that kind of reached out to him but didn't want to let him play quarterback? Do you remember that, Chris?
I don't recall that.
I just think Trey Lance in the Minnesota Vikings system, and he's from the state of Minnesota, born in Marshall, Minnesota. It just screams out to me. But again, the Vikings have to go through the first round of the draft. If they don't come away with somebody in this year's draft, and you know they're not going to be in the mix next year at the top 5, they're too good of a team to go get somebody at the top 5 in the quarterback position in next year's draft, like Williams or May. They got to be knocking on the door and saying, what about Lance? And number one, the team that absolutely should be knocking on the door for Trey Lance, this would blow everybody's mind. It's got to be the Baltimore Ravens. Go check it out. Go check it out. Because if Lamar's telling you, get me Odell and get me DeAndre, and you go get him Odell and he's still not coming in, and the Jalen Hurts contract doesn't offer a template for you guys to work off of, and he's still making it sound like he's not coming. It doesn't matter until you hit a certain number that you might not be willing to hit, and you go through the draft, first round, and there's no quarterback that's out there that you would be willing to take to try and send a message or even turn a page, which it doesn't sound like they're at all thinking of doing. But there's a reason why Anthony Richardson's taking a top 30 visit to Baltimore. And if Trey Lance can be brought in, I would definitely kick that tire. I would absolutely be on the phone with the San Francisco 49ers and have Trey Lance as an insurance policy, because once again, the 49ers may hold on to Lance. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think last year, Jimmy Garoppolo went from not needing a playbook and was the 19th stringer on their quarterback depth chart to sticking around, and then 2 weeks into the season as the starter. And the 49ers are definitely going to see, how is Purdy's elbow going to look? How is Sam Darnold going to make it through the preseason before they would even consider trading Trey Lance, unless you hit a price that they can't refuse in terms of a trade offer. If Lamar in the training camp season still isn't coming because he is holding out, let's just say that happens. Don't you think you should call the 49ers right now to get a conversation going just in case? Because the 49ers in taking these calls might be sitting there and saying, we're not doing this. Call us in August if that happens. But we still have no intention. But this got out for a reason, and I don't think it's to set up next week's draft for the 49ers to try and recoup what they gave up 2 drafts ago. And that's my top 5 list of teams that should be.
All right, we'll get one more.
Here's one more. So if I just said Trey Lance would be outstanding as in case of training camp emergency break glass option for a team that is currently waiting on their quarterback, with Baltimore waiting, if you will, on Lamar. If the Jets and the Packers have not made their trade yet, laugh all you want. If the sorry folks goes into the training camp period,
sorry folks,
okay, and you want somebody that runs a system, Saleh comes from the Shanahan system,
All I've been hearing is that this is a done deal.
That's why this is the one more, okay? This is not in the top 5. But you need to, if you're Joe Douglas, just call him up and say, hey, if this thing is really if the Packers are really going to dig in, if the Packers are really going to dig in, like go through the spring, go through the draft and spring and say, we don't have to make a move till September 1. And we'll just hamstring you, Jets, because then the leverage really swings back to us when training camp season opens.
Sorry, folks.
Then Trey Lance, hey, how's Purdy feeling around early August? Oh, he feels good. He's going to be your starter. And Darnold's good. He'll be your backup. We'll take Trey Lance. That alone might get Gutekunst saying, okay, we don't want to pay our guys $60 million. We'll take whatever deal's on the table. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.